America demanded that Tehran hand over all its enriched uranium in return for a 3-month reprieve from sanctions. Pezeshkian said that he rejected the offer, terming it unacceptable. The Iranian president has also said that Iran was prepared for the reimposition of the UN sanctions. He said that the relationships Iran maintains with other countries, it will be able to overcome the situation.
نهایتا این گونه نیست که آسمون زمین خواهد اومد اینا مثلا این کارو بکنن ما بالاخره باید تسلیم بشیم. روند قضیه به این شکلی که ما با تمهیداتی که داریم، با ارتباطاتی که با همسایگان داریم، با کشورهایی که در اوراسیا و بریکس و شانگهای هست و تعاملاتی که شکل گرفته و همچنین مردم خود کشور ما و ایرانیانی که به ایران و به تمامیت ارضی کشورمان و به عزت و سربلندی مردم ایران اعتقاد دارن و باور دارن خواهیم توانست از این وضعیت بریم بیرون.
Now, this comes as the Security Council has rejected China and Russia's efforts to delay nuclear sanctions on Iran that were triggered by Britain, France and Germany. The UN sanctions have now been reinstated and are set to come back into force today. Meanwhile, the Iranians in Tehran are weighing the impact of the return of the UN sanctions. Iranians think that there is no time left any longer to prevent these sanctions. Residents of Tehran also say that they do not care about a resolution and that all they want is to make a living for themselves and have a decent life.
خب الان دیگه وقتی نمونده بخواد کنار بیاد دیگه تموم شد دیگه زودتر باید این حرکت رو میکرد.
آقا من معیشتمو میخوام، من کاری به قطعنامه ندارم، من میخوام یه روالی باشه، یه زندگی راحت داشته باشم، خودم، بچه‌هام و امثالهم. اینو ما میخوایم. حالا میخوان کاری بکنن که به صلاح مملکت، قاعدتا فکرشونه که به صلاح مملکت کار انجام بدن. حالا یا یه خورده بلند مدت دارن فکر میکنن که ماها نمیدونیم یا اینکه نه سطحیه. اینو دیگه خودشون میدونن. ما فقط معیشتمون رو میخوایم. همین.
In the latest developments from Ukraine war, the Russian Defense Ministry has said that its forces have taken control of 3 villages in eastern Ukraine. The ministry has released the names of the captured villages. They include Jarilov and Mesk in Donetsk region and Stepov in the neighboring Dnipropetrovsk region. Meanwhile, in an overnight attack, Russia targeted the Zaporizhzhia region as well in Ukraine with 115 drones. The drones struck a supermarket where debris lay on the streets and several cars were damaged. Firefighters rushed to the attack site to extinguish fire. Russia has intensified its attacks in Zaporizhzhia, having earlier targeted several locations. The front lines in the war remain active and drones are being used aggressively to attack remote locations. Rubinder Sachdev is on the telecast with me. Rubinder, situation so tense with regards to some resolution that is being anticipated by the West in a breakthrough that doesn't seem to be on the cards, keeping in mind that this is, I think, there are renewed efforts for a meeting to take place. Russia at this point of time has said that an alternative place to Moscow can be Istanbul, where there can be negotiations that can be held. But how far away are we from a resolution?
Thank you, Megha. A pleasure to be always with you. By the way, I just yesterday come back from Moscow. I was there for 1 week for a World Public Assembly, which was essentially a gathering of media and think tanks from the non-West regions, countries which Russia is building its narrative with, right? Now, that said, it seems the war will go on. There doesn't seem to be any, light at the end of the tunnel as of now, perhaps. Yes, Russia is Russia is progressing as they are reporting today, a few villages taken here and there. But Russian forces are not able to make through some, any striking breakthroughs, right? But still, yeah, Russia is grinding on the one hand. Secondly, as you said right now in your introductions, that drone attacks have increased. Russia is now has ramped up majorly its capacity to manufacture drones, including the Iranians, which they have modified the Shahed drones. And now I think there are days on which Russia is kind of, launching up to 500, 600 drones a day or a night. Now, what Russia is trying apparently with this is to make the daily lives of Ukrainian citizens, be it in Kiev, be it in Lviv, faraway towns near western Ukraine, to make it difficult and to, in a way, break down the morale of the Ukrainian citizenry so that they get tired. So that seems to be Russia's strategy. There is no doubt that Russia is losing soldiers, young soldiers, and also Ukraine is losing soldiers. But the Russian war method or war doctrine seems to be, and it has been in the past also, that it keeps moving on in the fight, not minding or unmindful of the losses of lives of its soldiers. There's an estimate that in the last 1 year or this 1 year, apparently close to 200,000 or so Russian soldiers have been killed. These are reports, we do not know the exact numbers, right? Now, that said, Russia is proceeding ahead. In terms of the talks which are supposed to happen, on the one hand, I think Russia, Putin is playing around, playing along in terms of the talks, but the two sides are so diametrically opposite and so much at odds with each other. I do not know how they could reconcile and come to the same page. So,
Okay.
for the time being, it seems the war goes on, no doubt.
Okay, all right. Rubinder, also, do make us understand in terms of heavier sanctions that the European Union and NATO allies are advocating and are likely to impose. And then, of course, we talk about the Russian oil trade, where the US President Donald Trump is putting pressure on European Union to stop buying oil from Russia, to stop buying gas from Russia. It seems, as Donald Trump says, that the European Union is propping the war against themselves, which is ironical. Do you think there would be a substantive impact with the American pressure on European Union, whether it is about levying secondary tariffs on China and India?
Thank you, Megha. Yes, it does seem to be gathering momentum, this conversation and this pressure from the United States on the EU that they should impose the secondary tariffs on, countries which buy oil from Russia, and the largest buyers are who? China, India, and by the way, Turkey. Now, it remains to be seen how European Union decides to act on it. EU has its own compulsions with respect to China because for them, China is also a substantial trading partner. Now, how much does EU want to, upset the apple cart with China? We don't know. We will see. How much the EU wants to upset its apple cart with India? We don't know. But without doubt, there is pressure from the United States on the EU, as well as, by the way, by the United States on the G7 countries. You will recall, and your audiences might recall, that I think about 2 weeks ago, the US Treasury Secretary, he convened a virtual meeting of G7 finance ministers
Right.
with the clearly this objective as to what can be some secondary sanctions which can be imposed on Russia or on the countries which are buying oil from Russia. So there is movement on this. I do not know what the chances are, but the chances are not minimal. The chances are there somewhat that the EU could buckle under pressure, or EU on its own could decide, yeah, it has to side along with America to impose secondary sanctions on countries. And as to how the countries, including India, respond to that, that we will have to see.
Okay, all right. Thank you for giving us your perspective on things. We now have a dash cam footage capturing the moment of a drone hit a road in Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia late on. The visuals are in fact playing on your screens of the dash cam where the drone struck various structures in Zaporizhzhia, and the location was confirmed to be from the buildings, the road layout and the tram tracks, which matched the street view imagery of the area. The date when the video was recorded was verified by the timestamp on the dash cam footage, which you can see very clearly on your screen. A daily initiative that is gaining traction in Ukraine is how common Ukrainians are honoring the fallen soldiers in the Russia-Ukraine war. People are stopping their day to remember those lost in the war. Early morning at 9 o'clock local time in cities like Kyiv and Lviv, traffic comes to a halt. Pedestrians stand still and a minute of silence is observed. It's a simple but powerful gesture that's quickly becoming part of daily life. For many, it's a way to honor friends and family who never came back home.
Багато друзів, і це кожен раз нагадування про те, що ми маємо бути вдячні за те, що вони вклали своє життя заради нашого життя і заради захисту країни. І це має продовжуватися, і про це мають знати діти і майбутні покоління.
Тільки що у нас сталася зупинка, власне, центральної вулиці Києва, серця Києва. І це вже відбувається протягом цього тижня. Тобто щоденно тут звучить метроном, оголошується хвилина мовчання, і також підсилюється тим, що люди виходять на акцію, щоб підтримати цей суспільний резонанс і запит.
Well, with that, we come to the end of this telecast of the World Report. Stay tuned on NewsX World for more news and updates.